Hey guys, I just wanted to share with you guys a product that we are going to use on one of our upcoming shop builds for a 1968 Datsun Roadster. So we are ultimately doing an EFI conversion on this vehicle, but if you guys don't know, going from carbureted to EFI is not exactly the easiest way of doing things. What I mean by that is that a lot of people don't understand, especially this day and age, is that a carbureted car runs on anywhere from 3 to 10 psi or so fuel pressure, while today's modern EFI setups is anywhere from 35 to about 55 psi on a returnless system. So another thing too that we have an issue with is that most, if not all, carbureted cars, as far as I know anyways, uses what's called an inline pump. And so how that works is that you've got your tank, and on the bottom of your tank you've got a nipple that runs to a pump, and then from there it feeds it up to the carbs. So on an EFI setup, you really want to do an in-tank setup. So here's the thing. A lot of older cars that are more popular, they make easy EFI conversions, whereas something like ours is a little bit harder to do an EFI conversion in, mainly with the stock tank and using a in-tank fuel pump. So Aeromotive makes this here. This is the 18688 part number here, and this is actually a really slick product. So firstly, the way this guy works, or what it is rather, is an in-tank fuel pump. It's a universal in-tank style fuel pump, and it does come with a Aeromotive 340 pump. So I just want to talk a little bit about the top hat here, and its billet. As you can see, it's very beautiful. You've got your bulkhead electrical fittings here, and then you've got a outlet, which is the feed, a return, so after it goes through everything, and then a vent. And looking on the bottom side of this, it's pretty simple, straightforward, but it's very well made. So the way this works is you have this right here. This is the foam and the baffle. And the way this works is that you will essentially cut a hole, and we'll get to that in a second. We'll cut a hole, we'll measure this, put this where it bottoms out on the tank, and we cut the foam accordingly. So with the pump, or the fuel hanger, is the same way. We basically set this in place and we cut it to where we need it, and it's ready to rock. So now a lot of people get to this part and they get kind of afraid. How do we cut the hole? How do we measure it? What's the right way of doing it? Well, that's very simple. So Aeromotive includes this. They call this the install ring, right? And this is very simple. You basically find out in the tank kind of roughly where a good spot is. So flatter is better, but if you can't get it flat, or some tanks have ridges, then they actually have specific instructions for that. But what you basically do is take a drill bit and you drill out these holes. And when you drill out these holes, it makes the template for this thing, right? So perfect fit there. So once you find your place and you cut your hole out using this, you essentially take this and you stick it inside the tank and lift up on it. And then once you get that in place, this guy will slide right in into its holes, right? So pretty slick deal. Now, talking about the wiring side of it, this does include a 340 pump, and it's already pre-wired. Now, up here, obviously, you've got your ground and your power, so you'll need some electrical knowledge for sure. Definitely a fuel pump relay needs to be added. That's unfortunately not included, but not simple to get, or excuse me, not difficult to get or install. So moving on, we have the hardware here that's included. So we've got these are basically wiring protectors. They go into the, pour that out. So we've got these crimp connectors that crimp onto the harness, and it will slide through, and you'll have a good weatherproof connection. You have these hose clamps here, and what these clamps are actually for is actually to secure the fuel pump in place. Okay. But the best part about this is this drill bit here. They actually include the correct drill bit that you need. Not a huge deal, but you know, it's really nice to have that you don't have to go dig and find a drill bit, or perhaps, you know, you get a drill bit that's too big and you end up drilling a hole too big, or you know, something like that. But they give the right drill bit, so that's awesome. The hardware is all nylon, so these are locking nuts, and these are great. So I'm sure you guys have already dealt with these before, man, so you know when they go in, they don't come out, all right? Or they don't rattle loose, for that matter. So let's move this to a side. And of course, you know, on any fuel pump install for an EFI setup, you know, this is your average fuel pump strainer, right? So nothing crazy here. Again, this setup comes with the fuel pump. So this is Aeromotive's 340 pump. You know, I'm sure you guys know. This pump has been out for a really long time. It's been dependable, reliable, and they're pretty easy to get. So it is included in the package. Now, pricing on this, right? I think the pricing is actually pretty fair. You know, it is not cheap, but as you guys already know, nothing car stuff is ever cheap, right? It retails at $620, right? But if you think about it, you basically have a solution that is going to save you a ton of time. It's going to save you a ton of time, and if it saves you a ton of time, it's going to save you a ton of money. This will be the first time that we've ever installed the setup. It's been something that we've been looking at for a while since we've acquired our Datsun, and you know, we're definitely going to install this piece in a different video. Before that, we'll also make another video that when we're done, we'll link into the description down here on basically our fuel routing setup for the Datsun. We are dealers for Aeromotive, so if you'd like to order one, you know, definitely reach out to us and let us know what we can do for you. Thanks.